you ever wanted to know how bricks and tiles are made? Well, I'm at a factory today that's making them. This is one of the machines that mixes the water and the clay and starts making it into a substance that eventually becomes a brick. So today's video starts at Hollybank Quarry, and we're going to take you through the process of building a brick. Now these bricks are for the lock at Dudley, which is being rebuilt at the moment by Canal River Trust. Just what you can see in here, this is a pile ready to go, and it's all been dug out from the quarry just over there. And as you look through this, you can see different layers in it, and there's like a grey line there, and now that's got higher iron content in. So when they dig it out, they will mix it and they will churn it up together and they will create one base colour. So the wagon behind us being loaded is going to a place called Ketley. And Ketley Bricks are where we're going to go see in a second, where we're going to see the process of taking the clay that they've got here to a full brick that's been moulded and fired and everything into a brick that can then go off to the Canal River Trust and go into their lock. So you can see the differences in the quarry here. So where it's going grey over there, they're going into different seams there, and that's actually going into coal. And if you look closely just up ahead of us here, you'll see like a black seam, and that is actual coal through there. And then as we come round, you can see we go into the red clays, and that red clay is what they actually want to make the bricks. So they're not digging this out, they've dug as much as they can out of this before reaching the other seam. You can see down through there is a crack, and that's due to the dry weather we've had, and they'll have to stabilise that so it doesn't collapse. So you can see it more closely here on the side here. You can see this is full of carbon and is no good for clay. It's quite an interesting story. This was all produced over 300 million years ago. Now, I'm not going to go into it, there's a lot of science involved in it, but basically there was nothing to eat the trees and the plant life. What happened is the trees would fall down, they would just stay where they were. And nowadays, sort of bugs and critters and stuff will break all of that down, and fungi will break all of that down. A period of time happened, it all fell down, it all got compressed in the earth, and it turned into coal and oil and all sorts. Now, that doesn't happen because the period of the fungi came along and started to live on the wood and eat the dying wood. And now we can't make coal or oil because fungi exists. It's a big old site this. It's surprising how big it is. And you can see water down in the bottom there. That'll be a constant battle in a hole like this, and I'll have to keep pumping it out as they dig further across and deeper down. So this site's about 40 metres deep, and they're going to carry on through that face there for a little while, and then they come across to here. They've got about 30 years still to do on this site. It's quite surprising how much clay they get out of here. But as they finish that face over there and they move over to underneath where we are now, they'll start backfilling it. And this becomes a grey site then, so it can be developed after. But that's 30 years away yet. They will start sort of sorting stuff. So it's what's called muck away. It's all the building site waste that comes along. The topsoils, everything like that, they bring it, they will filter it, they will take out all the different size soils that they can use on other sites, all the grits and all the stuff that is usable, recycle as much as they can, and what can't be used will be put in the bottom of here. So it's not domestic rubbish, it's actually kind of replacing the material you've taken out of it already, and that will backfill and fill this whole site back up. So in 30 plus years time, this will just be a normal field above here. So this is the end of that seam here now, and below us is all this red clay. So they're going to dig this out as far as they dug that bit down there, which we're heading to now. As you come through here, you can see they've got areas where they've got sandstone and stuff here, which is obviously much harder. That gets dug out and that gets used in various different brickworks and stuff, so none of it gets wasted. It will get sent elsewhere. Because of how I said coal was made, you find it often that it's between layers of clay. So what would happen is they would be in there trying to dig the coal out, and they would have to dig through the clay to get to the coal. So it was kind of like a byproduct as such of the coal mining process. So they built bricks on site, and you used to have hundreds of thousands of brickworks all across the country. They also used to appear near to sort of major projects on railways and canals, because instead of having to bring all those bricks in, they would build bricks on site. Nowadays there's far less brickworks left. So we're going to go to one across at Ketley now and see the process in turning this clay from this site into bricks. So now we're at Ketley Bricks and Dreadnought Tiles. So they're one company up in Dudley way, and they produce about 6 million bricks and about 6 million tiles per year. And we're going to have a little look round and see the process. Now, as brickworks go, it's not massive in the amount they produce, but the reason why they only produce 6 million of each is that they produce it in a more traditional way. It's not like these massive factories producing 100 million bricks per year that have no quality control and just throw them through. So thank you to Ketley's for allowing us here today.
So this is the start of our production process, and this is where our clay arrives from the quarry. You see at this point, the clay is in quite large chunks. There's probably some variation in quality and some additives and impurities in the clay. So we take the clay from here, put it through clay production, basically make a consistent uniform product.
So if you, different areas you get the clay from are going to be different qualities and different colours.
Yes,
and stuff.
so within the seam, will be a very similar clay, but there could be different deposits in there as well. We've been using this clay for 20 years plus now, so we're very familiar with the qualities, so we can process it.
So even on one site you could be finding different colours and you can only use a certain amount of that clay?
We mix between different seams. So within when you go to the quarry, you'll see different layers of clay colour.
Yeah.
We'll take from vertically through those different seams, and that's mixed and then stockpiled and it's mixed again. So we're doing as much as we can to kind of mix the qualities.
And that gives you a consistent colour. Yeah. Now clay, I know ball clay is a degradation of granite, so I imagine all clay comes from the same. I'm not sure if different clays come from different rock that's degraded or not, but it's that's the basic theory of it. It's as it breaks down, it produces this clay.
From there, then I'll put it here. That's all ready to mill. Go into the box feeder. From the box feeder, go into the crusher, which will take it down from something like that, as big as your fist.
So from that hopper onto the bow and up, where it can get crushed and sorted.
This process is purely about making a consistent size product. Like I say, breaking down what you saw outside into a format where it's almost like Play-Doh, in a very malleable but consistent product.
So you can see up here, that machine there is spinning around the clay and adding water. That makes the consistency better. It does come in with water in the clay, but you need to have a consistent amount, so they add water and they can always squeeze that out at a later time. So what's the reason for the sand being mixed into here?
The sand changes the properties of the clay. Basically allows you to make different format, different size products. So we don't always have sand, it just depends on the product. This would be like a Victorian era kind of press, which we still use. And this makes things like diamond checker pavers, if you're familiar with the press paver. Basically, clay gets added in here. This lever pushes the clay up and down together and presses that plate into a block of clay. So we'll start with the raw ingredient on the right hand side. And now we put it into the machine and we'll press the pattern paper. This is actually making a blister paper, so a paper with lumps on the top for a tactile finish.
So that's the sort of thing you'd see on a crossing?
Yeah.
Isn't that for blind people to feel?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's not fired, that's soft clay.
That's soft clay. Still, if you feel the weight of it, it's pretty heavy, so there's a high moisture content. Yeah. It's going to shrink a bit when we fire that, it's going to shrink by 10%. I'll show you this. This is one of our small extrusion machines. So this is used for our special shapes, more bespoke products, but it kind of shows the process that happens on the large scale on our main line. The green machine you see on the right hand side is a clay extrusion machine. And that's making processed clay, you've seen being processed in the process, and then under pressure it's being extruded, it will be extruded from this head, and a line of clay will come out, so cut with the wires into individual units. And this machine is very flexible and allows us to make different shapes.
So on that machine you can change the nozzle effectively on the end and you get different shapes from like ball noses, you can see that's got angled edges, there's loads of different ones. So when you're making a bespoke sort of brick or tile, you can really choose your sizes and shapes and make life a lot easier in that moulding process. And if you look at it, it goes down from like a bigger opening, this is the back of it, into a much smaller area which compresses that clay. There's hundreds of different sizes and stuff in here. These machines here are actually what they use to cut the tiles into shape. So you can see this has a different angle, and if you look in below there, you've got a rounded bit. So that will go into there, that will go in as a full sheet. This machine will then press that down and cut that into shape. And that's how you get an ornamental decorative tile. So one thing you might notice on these tiles is they're actually bending, and that's done on purpose. And there's a metal former right at the bottom there, and they pile them up on top and they create the bend in them. And that is so water runs off them better. opening up one of the dryers right now, which is quite an important process. It takes that clay and they put it in for several days. If you don't take that moisture out the bricks or the tiles, it will fail in the kiln. The kiln is hot, we'll get to that in a minute, and it's just too much moisture, it will crack them. So these dryers are really important in this process and stops major failure in the product. So away from the clay preparation and drying, we're going into a bespoke area now where there's some quite different stuff done. So these ones are all hand moulded?
Yes. Basically, I've got my moulds here that I start off with, and I make the mould. That one here was basically made out of a mould of that, and I've just put all the shape and sculpted all the shape and everything to it myself. And that is basically the rough mould for this one here, which again I have to put all my own shape into it and scribe all my own shapes in. There's a lot of work into it, it takes a lot of time, but it is rewarding when you've made something at the end of it.
So it's still a very traditional way to do it?
Yeah. It's still done the same way as it was done 200 years ago. But, I mean, they'll come in with any kind of finial, anything really, and just put it to us. As long as they give us the dimensions, what they want, give us the right information, we can make it.
You need to measure the water content constantly in it?
Yeah, basically we get to a point where they call it white hard, basically. It's nearly the same colour as this, it's gone white hard, there's no moisture left in it. Then it's put into the dryers for the final push, just to make sure there's no moisture in it. And then it's sent through the firing process.
How don't you, when you're right-handed?
I'm easy either, yeah.
Or how don't that choice? Get your knife.
Like
That's
that.
it. Come across this one first. The table locks, see. That's it. Now if you turn the table around.
I always keep to that.
And then it'll lock it. Actually, keep to the template. Yep. Look, there it comes here. You're all right. Hang on. That's it. That's it.
It's this where you get your tolerances of 2 mil, where somebody lifts it up.
You're all right.
Do I carry on straight down with this one?
Yeah, straight away down.
I pick the whole one up and put it in.
Nah.
So just trimming it now to...
It's just, some of them say they're bow.
Oh yeah.
And you just, you know, doesn't get through properly, so... Do the dreadnought. That's it. And then...
That one?
110.
Where does that go?
That's it, like that.
There?
Yeah. And then the manganese stamp.
Just underneath again?
Just an M.
So that way?
Yeah. That's it.
So that's a sand-faced product, and as you can see, that sand stays on there after the process is finished and gives it its effect.
So a smooth product will have a more of a shiny gloss finish. A sand face will have a matte finish and slightly different colour.
So as you can see, as they're cutting off, and there's offcuts for everything, all that clay goes straight into the skip, and that goes back to the beginning and is reused in the process. So before it's fired, nothing is wasted and can be reused.
So this is a drying room. And we keep quite a lot of stock here, just so if we get an order, we can then fire this to the desired colour. So again, orders can be changed colour. Some sand face, some smooth. And this just allows the natural, you feel a bit into there. Yeah. You just allow a very slow drying.
So this is the brick making process, and as you can see, that is a nozzle right in front of us there, and that nozzle is pushing that shape of brick out. You can't see it moving, it looks like a static thing, but it moves it across the healer, and that's pushing through, and that is the size of a brick now going onto the conveyor, where it'll work its way around into that side over there, where it's that counts.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's large.
So this is piling the bricks, and you can see they're going onto trays, and they go into groups, and they'll go down, and they go into a large drying rack on the end there, which goes into this building on the left-hand side, which is the main drying room. So this is where the tiles are sorted, which is just down below us there, and they're put into these little sort of cages that go into the kilns then. So they're stacking them up now that you can see this machine behind us. This is all very non-hands-on at this point, and that is putting it into a pile. That will then be put to the kiln where they'll be fired. So at this stage before firing, there's not really a product cost. If it fails, then it doesn't matter. It goes back into the process. It's when it fails in the next stage, which is the kiln process, which is when it starts getting expensive for the company. So these are the kilns then, and you can see there's quite a few of them. It's really hot in here. Now they fire up to 1100 degrees Celsius, and this is the inside of a kiln. You can see the insulation on this, and that stops all that heat from escaping. And behind me is the main panel here, look, which closes in onto the end there. You can see that on both ends. So they're piled the bricks into here on these sort of formers they've got, and then cook it then. So these bricks are fired, it depends on timings and what they're trying to achieve with the brick. It's about 12 hours, and they slowly heat that up, get it up to 1100, 1100 degrees, and then they slowly cool it down. If they just whack that heat on straight away, they'll probably crack them. You need to slowly ease that up.
So here you've got dried bricks. You feel that it's actually pretty hot still. Yeah. They're still quite soft. And then on the left we have some fired bricks, which was change.
So there is wastage here, as you can see. Some of it looks pretty good, but if you actually look closely, the bricks have cracks and stuff in, so they won't pass quality control. But this doesn't go to waste. It's not the end of the journey for these bricks and tiles there. This will actually go as hardcore, so it'll be crushed down and still be used in building. So no product is wasted here.
So our clay is very rich in iron oxide. This gives a naturally a red colour. During the firing process, reduce the atmosphere, which means removing the oxygen from the kiln firing. Now it helps to generate a blue colour. During that process, changing the iron oxide from a ferric oxide to a ferrous oxide. That's a permanent change, which lasts the life of the brick.
So some companies might dye their bricks, they don't do that here. This is all done as a chemical process, which was discovered sort of probably hundreds of years ago. And with that process, you can create effects. If you look on these tiles here, they're darker on the outside and lighter on the inside. When they first discovered that oxygen changed the process, they used to be able to put bricks into certain places in the kiln, and different areas of the kiln would have different oxygen content. Now that provided this different colour in the tile, and now they can use the same process by introducing oxygen in places to create what's called a picture frame effect on the tile. And this is quite good for heritage products because it kind of ties in with what's originally there. So they would have had sort of good bricks, which were the ones on the edges where the oxygen was low. That blue brick was much harder. It's got slightly better water quality than the inner bricks, which are more red in colour. This site has been here since 1805, so it's 220 years that they've been making bricks and tiles here. Now it's a formation of two companies. The original company here was the Tile Works, and Ketley Brickworks were about a mile away, and they moved down to here when the companies merged. Now this used to be a big quarry in here, and they ran out of clay here, so they now take the clay from the quarry we visited this morning. So these are the bricks that are going to go into Tidy Big Lock, which is what I'm here for. Canal River Trust have kindly allowed me to film today. I've got a whole video on my other channel on Caught Above the Cut where you'll see what's going on down at the lock. There was a failing of the wall there, so they've had to close the lock off and start rebuilding. Now that's a combination of heritage bricks where they clean them and sort them. That works out about £1 a brick, or some they have to replace. So these cost about £1.20 per brick then. Now the Canal River Trust are a charity, so please do look at the links in the description where you can actually support this project, and you can basically pay for bricks. It'd be a great way to sort of support the trust, and you can also take your kids down there or your family and say, I help pay for this, which is always something good to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a good take on how these processes work and how, apart from a bit of machinery, they haven't really changed in 200 years. So it's how they would have built these bricks back in the day, the same processes, just slightly modernised. Thanks for watching, have a great day.